Hello, my favorite CopperCube people. So today we are proceeding with other project with an MMORPG for CopperCube, and unfortunately I'm doing this a little bit differently from the previous one. I won't be coding alone because the functionality I was going to implement today is actually quite complex, and I will be just copying the solution which I made off screen. But I mean, my tutorial, do whatever I want. So let's just refresh what we have. Currently, we have our map, and there is a character which runs around, and we smoothed his movement last time, so he moves a little bit better than it was before. Not that much lag. Well, at least for now. And we're still receiving his coordinates from the server, and his position is updated on the server side, and we only show him on the client. So today our goal is to add multiple characters, so our knight is not alone. And yeah, the first thing which I'd like to mention, I've also done some fixes. I fixed the sky, and I forgot last time. I actually forgot to do some stuff related to camera. First of all, I added this clamp function for camera target rotation on x-axis. This prevents camera from spinning around the player, so you only limited to look like that high and down like that. So basically, this is just to prevent camera glitches. And the other thing which I added, I changed this value to 200. So our rendering time is state now minus 200 milliseconds right now, because it appears that if, for example, you just do an else statement here, and this is set to 100, a lot of times you won't have the frames, their position is updated, which means that our character is not moving that smooth. And if you set it to 200, as soon as everything is loaded, there are no missing frames, and position is updated quite good. So I mean, it's quite smooth. So let's talk about what we are going to be doing today. As I mentioned, we are adding our characters. I've already coded everything, so it's just will be not a code alone. It will be like lazy copy paste today instead. But I hope it will at least decrease the time um, of the video. So first of all, let's just go to server and see what our currently server looks like. The biggest issue for now is that we have this player as an object here. And also, as I mentioned, here in this to do, this first of all need to be a class. And second of all, can I say it like that? It doesn't matter. So if we are going to have multiple players, we actually need an array of players. And same way, we need to update player every frame, not only like our single object player, but we need to update all players the same way. So it will be like player of players, something like that. And we will run a move player function for every player from the array. First of all, yeah, I've already created it here. This is a class which we're going to be used for our player node. It's pretty much the same as the object that we have now. It has the same properties. So it has like X, Y, target X, target Y, rotation, and also animation. And I also added the ID state. Since we will have multiple players, there should be the way to understand who is who is which player. So we are going to be doing this by ID. This ID in the future will also be sort of how is it called? Sort of like a session ID maybe, or something like that, which you received then you got logged into the game. So for now, let's just see what we also can update on the server side. I will just open the ready part on other screen, and let's just go through it. First of all, we don't need player anymore. We are going to be creating our players using another API endpoint, which we will call connect. So every time the game starts, every time the player is joining, first thing that will happen, the player will hit this connect endpoint. And as the result, there will be created another player with ID, which we will receive from the client. And this player, we actually need to import it, player require C player JS. Do I need to add JS? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So we will create a new player on the position, and also in this version I have. Let's just put this animation. We don't want this animation here. Let's just say that it's idle because it will be idle in most cases. Or we can update it in the future. We don't need like additional parameters here. So basically, the new player class will be created. Instance of player class will be created, and we will push this new player to our players array. And as a callback for this function, we will send player data array back to our client. So this is the connect part. The next part is related to the opposing thing, related to disconnecting. So in case our player is going to leave the game, they're going to hit disconnect endpoint. And in this case, we will just take our player array, we will filter it, and basically what we're doing here is we're removing the player with ID, which is sent from the client. So basically, client has some ID, and now they don't play anymore, and for that reason, we remove corresponding player object from the all players array. And we also need to modify the update method here. Update method, I'll just copy it. As I mentioned, like I'm not in a shape for today to to do like recording all the stuff. I will be just copying things. So on update, we had this function which updates player position. Since we don't have this player object anymore, and player is a part of players array, we also need a way to identify which player is it. And with the current design, we're just once again finding the player with corresponding ID from the array. And if player is found, we're updating target position for them. Yeah, and also instead of sending, like before, we were just sending player data back to our client, we will send all players data right now. And I also want to be an object because we will have like something like enemies in the future, if obviously if we get there at some point and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it seems like these are the all changes which I've done to the server side. The only thing which I would also like to add is install another package which is called NoDemon or NodeMon or like whatever it's called. Basically, this is a tool which allows you better development experience because it will restart your server every time you're doing some changes. And I will just do index.js here. So now, in case we want to start the server, we can also do npm run dev, and it will start the server. And in case, for example, I'm changing something, so I say like I don't want to save players, send players here, and I'm just saving. As you can see, it will restart the stuff due to changes. This is very handful, and this is something that we're going to be using in the future in order for make our lives a little bit easier. So the next thing what we want to do is we're going to update our scene. First of all, we don't need this player character to be here anymore because we will have multiple players, and then and they would be added to the same coordinate as we receive from the server. So For now, I'll just put camera target inside the player. I will put camera inside the player, and I will move our player below the scene so it cannot be seen. Let's just put the camera back. Let's just, oh, camera target back. Let's put camera back, and this guy here will be renamed to a local player. To be honest, I'm not sure if we actually need separate models, separate nodes for local player and remote player, but I'm gonna still do it. I created a copy of the local player. I will call it remote player base. This remote player base is something which I'll call base nodes. So this remote player base will be copied every time someone is joining the game. And obviously it's not like the player who are we who are we playing. So this guy will be just moved to its position, and these guys were sort of like dummy nodes. They will be just put uh, as a representation of network players. Okay, so I might also rename these things because I'm not quite sure what I named them originally. And let's proceed with copying stuff. So let's go to our extensions, and inside our get data extension, let's just start with connect because we still need to do connect. I will just copy the existing thing. Control R. I will just have this cube connect here. So this is another extension. This is an action. Basically, what it does. First of all, we will get a new variable here, a new global variable, which is called global player ID. This is a game session ID or a player ID, like or whatever. So basically, this is a unique identifier which we're going to be using on our server. For example, here where we find player ID to add, where here where we remove player on executing disconnect, on hitting disconnect endpoint, and also here where we use it to find the player which is currently moving. And for that, currently I'm only generating it, so I'm just auto-generating some string. If you wonder what it does, let me just open the browser really quick, and let's just go to browser console and paste it here. As you can see, it just generates a little random line, exactly what we need for now. Yeah, so what it does, first of all, I'm set close on escape to false. This will be needed in another extension, which is called disconnect, and we will get back to it later. Basically, we need to send a disconnect call. We need to hit disconnect endpoint before quitting, and if we simply press escape in order to quit, it won't happen. So that's why we're setting the default behavior to false. Then the next thing, what we're gonna do is we're going to hit this connect endpoint. We will send the only parameter which we're sending is our ID, and this would be like our global player ID, which we just generated. Here, oh, I also don't need this anymore because I already done it. Here we receive all the players data. So from the server side, if you remember, we're just sending the whole players array. And we go through the whole players array here, and we check if our player ID is our global player ID. What we do is we take our local player node, which is this one, and we will move this local player node in the position. Position is get from the server, so we have like this player X here and player Y, which is player Z, which is mentioned in the first video of this tutorial. And we also change local player name to global player ID. In case our player ID is not equal to global player ID, which means this is someone else. It's not us who is this player. We're gonna add a remote player. What we do here is I have this function because I need to reuse it in one place. what I do here is I just get this node which is called remote player base, which is also named properly. Wow, I put consistent name somewhere. That's great. And basically we're doing pretty much the same, but instead of just moving him to a location, I mean the knight, we create a copy of this node, and then we move copy into position, and we change copy name to corresponding player ID. This is the connect thing. So the next thing would be probably disconnect, and let's just copy it here once again. Where do we have it? Game. Oh, why is it? No, not game. I need extension. So we just copied here, and let's see what we're doing here. This one is pretty basic. So what we're doing here is we just call in localhost disconnect endpoint. We send our global player ID as a parameter, and as soon as we receive some sort of response from the server, so in this case, we're just receiving string which says, okay, like you disconnected, well, go do something useful with your life. We finish the program. And we need to also add these two actions to our game. So let's just go to edit, plugins, reload and verify. And here inside the scene, what we're going to do is we're going to add a new before first drawing into something. And we're going to put our, where is it? Our player connect here. So it's just connecting for the first time. And we will also add another trigger event, which is when a key is pressed. I'm going to set it to Q key because, I mean, probably I can actually set it to escape. Can I? Let's just try if I can set it to escape. And if button is pressed, we're going to do a disconnect thing here. Obviously, in the future, we can add a menu or something like that, which says, are you going to disconnect or like you don't want to do that and so on. But for now, we'll just do it like that. Let's save the scene, and we need to update the very last thing is our get. Oh, no, not the last thing. We have two things to update. First of all, let's start with get data. As you might remember, this is something that we execute every 100 milliseconds here. So this is this action get data. And this is an action which gets all the data from the server, and so we can manipulate it and we can apply it to our local players. It also requires a little modification. First of all, we obviously need to set a send ID, which is our global player ID as usual. And the next thing, oh, basically, I think, no, it's not. That's not it. We are going to do like what? Okay, it's not exactly the same. Why is it so? Because okay, it's exactly the same because here I just have like a little bit different syntax. I'm not sure why, but you also have received that. We have data. We don't need to modify anything. So basically, the only change here is that we are adding another parameter ID, which we are going to be sent to the server. And we need to update our controller thing, and this is probably the biggest update, which will happen here, because currently we only get like our player node by name, and then we update player positions and so on for this exact node. And as you probably understand, on the server side, we don't have we have multiple players now, and we also receive data for multiple players. So this one should be an array which updates positions and rotations and animations and so on for all the players. So for that, what we're going to do is we're just copy all the thing and the whole thing here, and we'll see like if it works or not. First of all, it also has a little bit different naming, but I think I'll manage to fix it, I guess, I hope. So like that, and let's just replace everything, and let's see if we can fix it. So first of all, instead of y here, I have index for some reason. Let's just change it to index. Why not? So it will be index, index, index here, index here. And it does pretty much the same. It's also called render time. Let's just call it render time because, I mean, why not render time, render time? So I just coded it separately. That's why it has like different values everywhere, different names. They're sort of similar, but at the same point, they're sort of different. And let's just discuss what is happening here now. So this logic is pretty much the same. We're just calculating our k value for linear interpolation. And here we remove all the states which we don't need anymore. So we keep the states count like 2 or 3 all the time. And we don't use any external memory for storing player states data. Here we will have another array which will iterate for all players which were in previous snapshot. And so this will be like player previous snapshot, which is this index. And for the next player snapshot, we won't get it like that. So it won't be like something like this. But instead, we're going to get player by ID. And we also need that function which I have right here. Let's just put it in the end of the whole thing. And why do we need this? Basically, since this is an array, what can happen, player can leave the game. And at some point, we will have the previous snapshot, which is like in 200, not 200, in 100 milliseconds before the next snapshot. It will have different arrangement of players. So let me just maybe do my favorite paint thing. So for example, you had the first array where you had like player 0, you had player 1, player 2, and so on. And so this is the previous snapshot. It has data for all these players with index 0, 1, and 2. And then you will suddenly at some point, this player 0, he quits the game. And so what happens with array, it just, with the code with what we have now, it just moves. So it will be like 1, 2 now, and player 0 doesn't exist. And so in case we are just taking value by index, what will happen, we will just interpolate between positions of a player which was previously with index 0 with this one player, with like another player. So basically, we're messing up data for different players. So that's why we're also using ID here in order to determine if this is the same player or not. I hope this is more or less clear. And also, in case we don't have this player, we don't have a snapshot for the next player, what we're going to do, we're going to remove the node of this player because it seems like he quit the game and he doesn't exist anymore. All other stuff is pretty much the same. So it's we're getting the player node. Now we get player node by ID because we apply it as a name for every player node. And for every player node, we execute the same logic. And this is actually also should be removed because I already done it. So this is pretty much the same logic. So we have like our rotation, our animation, and also in case this previous ID is our global player ID, in this case, we also change the camera position. Basically, I think that's it. Let's just see if it works. And if it does, I don't know, like it couldn't work from the first time. Okay, and it obviously doesn't because something doesn't work. And the thing is that our player is moved, so he's on top now, but our camera for some reason that didn't move. Let's just see. I think this is something related to inconsistent naming. So we have our camera called target node. Let's see where we have it. So we have like our camera target node here and here. and camera position. Okay, so this is camera. Let's just check it out really quick because I mean, I think we will be able to figure that out. Was it working before? It should. Okay, it's just because we don't. I guess we have different naming here because I copied this part. So if player node, if oh yeah, of course, it's like camera target. It's will be camera target node, and this will also be camera target node, and this will be like camera target position smoothing. Let's just see if we can if it fixed something. Yeah, it fixed the issue, and now we finally can move. There is this little sort of a lag in the beginning, so I just unfocused. Basically, what happens, if we just start the game, it takes some time for, come on, for the camera to move because we're missing the frames in the beginning. But to be honest, it doesn't matter because we will use some sort of preload scene or something like that. And as you can see, there spawned multiple guys here already, which are not removed for some reason. And this is happening because we have assignment to a constant variable in index 19. Let's just see what exactly it does. Index 19. So we have like players. Okay, because this players array, it should be actually um, we're modifying it here. We're assigning the new value. Uh, so let's just close it really quick. Let's just see everything is looks properly. If we just start a new game, our player appears on screen, and our log says that our player with this ID is connected. So this is our ID right now, and I'm still able to move with it. And in case opening the game once again, another time, there's the first guy, and I'm the second guy who connected. So I am this one. And so now, as you can see, we have two guys, and they both can move at the same time. And it's just me being lazy and not coding this alone. But I'm sorry for that. But I just can't. I just can't do it today. Yeah. So basically, that's what I wanted to show you guys, and it's still 30 minutes long. The video is still 30 minutes long, and if I was recording all the things, as you understand, it will be even longer. So does it work properly? So both our guys are standing there. This guy is moving here. This guy is moving there. This guy is standing. So everyone's running somewhere. Basically, I believe it's working. Also, yes, I forgot about one thing which we have here. So in case we don't have a player, we don't have, so where is this else? So if our player node doesn't exist, this means that here the player node is just something that I get by player ID. This is a node which represents the player, a knight, which is got by its ID. So if player doesn't exist, we also add remote player because we think that it doesn't exist. Probably someone has connected, and we don't have him yet on the server. So yeah, I think I will just finish for today, and I'll copy the code as usual. And for the next time, we're gonna be doing we're gonna be updating some more graphical stuff. I think we will add little names on top of player, and we will also add chat there you can communicate between each other. And at this point, we are going to actually deploy on the server, which is supposed to run the game and see if it can handle it in this state or not. And we will do the names things in a very let's say interesting fashion. So we'll see. Maybe I hope I will be able to code the next part, like in the code alone fashion. But anyway, that's it for today, and exactly 30 minutes. See you next time.